Hello and welcome to our first episode ever. I thought what better way to kick off this podcast was to have the woman who birthed me. When I say entrepreneur since birth, I mean it. It's literally running through my veins. So I'm super excited to have my mom on the first podcast ever. But yeah, she's more than my mom, and we'll definitely get to hear all about how she created her own business. It's been over 22 years now, and I'm super excited. It's definitely different when I was growing up. You don't really think too much of it. Yes, you were working quite often, but I'm so excited to really get into the details of what really you went through, and as I'm learning, I want to share it with you as well. So without further ado, welcome Nancy Gowan. If you can just introduce yourself, what you've built, what your company is, we'll start there.
Okay, thank you very much, Lindsay. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm always excited to spend some time with my daughter. What am I? I am a mother of two wonderful daughters who are inspiring to me on an ongoing basis. I am a wife of a wonderful husband who has supported me through 35 years of a bit of entrepreneurial spirit and long hours and lots of travel. And I am a founder of Gowan Consulting. So Gowan Consulting is a national occupational therapy company. We provide health and disability management to help employees and employers through life's challenges to be able to stay at work and return to work. And so, what do you want me to tell you?
I mean, now more than ever, this is such an important topic too, just as work from home kind of shifts, and like you've had to adapt over the years, of course, like 22 years in business, you don't get there from doing the same thing. So why don't you take us through why you started and what that looked like for you?
Okay. Well, I guess if I go back when I was a youngin', no. My parents were entrepreneurial. My father was a farmer and had his own business, a very great, thriving business. My mother continued to kind of support that and be able to help his business. And through that process, he also was always doing deals and always trying to think about different ways to be able to help and support his 5 daughters. And he became a real estate agent, so I think there's a little bit of blood there that caused you. And so through that, I also have 4 sisters, and all of my sisters have become entrepreneurs. And
which we do want to get you all on the podcast, because again, I've been so blessed to have these women role models in my life that have that entrepreneurial blood running through their veins as well. So hopefully I can get them all on the podcast as well. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're coming on, guys.
Yeah, they have wonderful stories as well. And so when I became an occupational therapist, I think I always wanted to be able to have support for employers and employees, and I've had kind of a passion to be able to do that. And I worked for a number of different organizations and had many mentors through those organizations. About 10 years in to my business or to my career, I had gone through a lot of mergers and acquisitions through different companies, and at one point had an opportunity to leave an organization when they sold and be able to start my own business. And so as a sole breadwinner, because Lindsay's dad stayed home and brought them up, so that's his issue. No.
She's not taking full responsibility for this, is what she's saying.
And so through that process, I had always wanted to do my own thing, and I think my sisters and I kind of joke about the fact that we couldn't work for anybody else, or no one else would have us. So I had the opportunity to be able to start my own business. I had networked for those 10 years, had such wonderful networked people that I could connect with, people that trusted me. And through that process began on my own to be able to deliver occupational therapy services to employers and to auto insurers, to long-term disability carriers. And then it just grew from there. There's always a roller coaster in business, and there's always kind of these ups and downs of what do you do next and how do you move forward. But I always had the kind of the blessings of continued growth and being able to have people that mentored me, people that I brought on as employees. I have one employee that has been with me for now 19 years.
It's amazing.
And so Melanie has been such an inspiration to me to be able to continue to grow our organization. So we went from just small, the two of us doing what we love to do, having a passion for what we love to do, and we had one organization, or actually a couple of organizations that we've worked for a couple of for 20 years, and they said, "Can you do what you do for the two of you? Can you do that nationally? Can you do that for all of our organization?" And so we hummed and hawed. We said, "Can we do this?" And so we decided that we would, at some point you have to kind of decide, stay small or grow. And since we had the support of such wonderful organizations, we said, okay, let's grow. And so since that time, we now have become national as occupational therapists, doing what we love to do. We niched down from doing anything that would come in our door to really doing what we really love to do, which is help employers and employees to work together well. And with that growth, we've had people come in and support us and grow with us, stay with us. I think what we love most is that we have some great stories of how we've helped employees to really stay working and come back to work, be healthy, work through mental health challenges and physical challenges.
That's awesome. So inspiring. And when you say you had the opportunity to go big, I know there's probably a lot of things in your head that said, no, like we're good where we are. That's going to be way outside of our comfort zone. How did you push past that and just do it? Like, I know a lot of people are sitting here, me particularly, this is my first podcast ever, and just getting past that hurdle of video, putting yourself out there. You have to take a deep breath and really get outside your comfort zone, because how did you do that?
With lots of mistakes.
For sure.
I think one of the things that I've learned through this process is it's okay to try. It's okay to fail. It's okay as long as you learn from it. And it's also, you're not going to do everything perfectly. And I heard a speaker talk about get good enough to move on instead of being perfect. And so as an entrepreneur, we kind of learned that, this is the direction we're going to take. We did some steps back, some steps forward, but we tried new things and different things, and, had so much support from our customers, because, they really helped us to have the courage to move forward, to be able to have that support. We've built trusting relationships. Our organizations that we've worked with call us their trusted partners now, instead of being a supplier. And it's kind of cool to be able to grow with them and to help them to have better programs as a result. So
awesome. Yeah, I know something that we kind of talk about quite often is that concept of failing forward. You have to be willing to be bad at something before you're going to be good at it. And I love that, because a lot of people just see you now and see what you've built and think it must have been so easy. An overnight success in 22 years, right? So I love that you touched on that. And when you were building the business, it must have been difficult. Being a young mom, going through all of that process, the balance, late nights, what kind of kept you pushing through that? Like, what would you say is your why of why you really stuck through it? And like for to be in business for 22 years and to create something so big, national company, you must have had a pretty strong why. So do you want to touch on that a little bit?
And I guess my why has always been in helping employees to have the tools to be successful at work. But there's a lot of times where you think, am I really making a difference? And you're right, like you've got to have that why behind you. And so I want to tell you kind of a story that I kind of was in one of those spots where it's like, oh, you know, this is a lot of work. I'm working till midnight. You know, I'm traveling a lot, not able to spend the time that I'd really like to with my children, being able to kind of keep going. And I went to a conference at one point, and I met one of the employees that I had helped 10 years earlier. And we did a lot of work with individuals with chronic pain. And chronic pain is a very difficult thing to kind of live through and work through. It really impacts your physical, your mental health, all of those things. And I remember this guy that I worked with, and he was just great at a point where it was a difficult time to make a decision whether he was going to move forward. He was, you know, having thoughts of ending his life. There was all kinds of things. And so when I was helping him through that process, you know, we got through it. He continued to work and found, you know, that he was able to continue to move. But I kind of moved on to a different organization and didn't know where he had come from. And so he came up to me at one conference and he said, you changed my life. That you helped me to just be able to keep going, and without the work that we had done together, he would have not ever been able to move forward, to be able to continue his life. And he actually had made a decision to do work to help other people with chronic pain. So he was doing more things around that. So it's those stories, I think, that keeps your why in the forefront, that it's not about the money, because there wasn't any sometimes. You know how expensive children are. Oh, you don't. I don't. But it's not really about that. It's about being passionate about what you do and finding that, you know, those stories that help you to keep moving forward, those things that help you to say, you know what, I'm helping someone. And I heard something as well that kind of keeps me moving forward is, you know, when you're selling something or when you're going out to your service, and we're healthcare professionals and we're really not good at selling things, we just do it because we do it. But what was really cool was that we're actually, when we're not going out and giving what we can give to that individual, we're actually harming them. Right? Because if without our services, without our skills for employers and employees, they're struggling and they don't know what to do. And so when I always think about that when I go out and talk to an employer, that I'm not there to sell them on anything, right? I'm there to be able to help them to do better at what they can do to help their employees. And so that kind of keeps me going, that kind of keeps me inspired to be able to help people. And it keeps me from that, you know, when you go out and you talk to somebody and say, hey, you got to have this, and they're like, oh no, another salesperson. It's just like, you know what, this is really going to help you. And if you're really coming from that place, that you, and you know that already because I watch you work now, which is so much fun.
I learned it well.
But being able to have that, knowing that what you're providing is a service to that individual. And without that, they don't have that service, they don't have that ability to help their employees. So by helping one employer, and training them and putting their systems in place, all of their employees are getting better supports, and all of their programs become better. So that, and I think that's what I love to do. I love to train, and I love to teach, and I love to do workshops because I see the aha moments and I see the people growing and developing because of just things that you can tell them that we think is common sense,
For sure.
but is really something that's going to help them.
Definitely. And I think that that's something that we've established too while doing, so every Thursday night before COVID was happening, I am lucky enough to have the opportunity to go and meet with your sisters, so 5 entrepreneurial women that just have such a passion for what they're doing to inspire me. So, I mean, that in itself is so awesome to be able to meet with these women and inspire me, who I know that they inspire you a lot, that your parents have. Is there anyone else that specifically sticks out in your mind as someone that really you looked up to growing up as a role model? I know that I have such powerful women around me that really, I grew up not thinking that I could do any less than any other man, because I had such powerful women that I just knew that I had nothing to stop me. So I think that I come at it from a confidence, from seeing strong women really own their industries. And I know you also talk about passion too. And I was talking to someone that was talking about passion is not really what society perceives it as. Passion seems to be what someone loves to do. But what they were saying is passion is being able to endure or going through all the hard for something that you love to do. Like Passion of the Christ. Like, did he love to be on the cross? No, but it was something he was doing for a higher power, for something more. And I love when you talk about passion, because that's really how I see it. Like, it's not always rainbows. It's not always gonna be the good days. There's gonna be down times, and I mean, 22 years of business, you can't have gone through those times without having that why to push through. And I love when you talk about passion, because you really mean it. Where other people, yes, it's something that you love to do, but it's all the sacrifices that you have to make along the way. But who is someone that you looked up to while growing up that kind of inspired you to know that you could be something more and a strong woman in business?
Mm-hmm. And I try to think about like one, but there's so many,
yeah,
right?
That's
so
true.
I'm so surrounded by powerful, amazing women, and starting obviously with my mother. My mother was so heart-filled, and you know, everything she did was because of that passion of helping somebody else. And she would always be able to see the good and the positive in everything that, you know, so we talk about growth mindset. She had the ultimate growth mindset that when you're helping someone else, when you're learning, that just keep encouraging and keep moving forward. And so she was, for me, someone who really encouraged me. You know, when I was failing at things, she would help me to see what I was learning from it and how it would be helping me in the future. In school, I had a wonderful instructor who was passionate about working with employers and employees, and that's kind of where I got that love. So Marla Rosenfeld was one of my instructors, and she kind of, through her teaching of me, I was passionate about that. Lydia Girolfi was one of my practicum OTs. She continues to be an awesome friend now, and she showed me the kinds of things that she did at DeFasco, where it was one of my first places that I worked, a steel company, and showed me everything that she knew and continued to support me there. I think that you know, I've had mentors that are kind of showing me how to be a good manager, which I didn't learn all at once.
And I mean, you're still growing. Like, it's not an easy task, for sure.
Made lots of mistakes in 30 years, although now I help managers learn how to be managers.
You know that you can teach what you know, and that's what I've learned too.
Do as I say, not as I do. Oh no, that's not it. Yeah, and in terms of my sisters are my mentors, like that every Thursday night. being able to share ideas and get that pumped up about those things. My daughters are, I'm continuing to learn and be excited about seeing their success and learning how they are doing things. I'm even like on Clubhouse, whatever that is.
It's the only place you can find me anymore.
My social media time is, it's not something that I really love to spend all my time on, but there's so many inspirational things going on there. So watching you, so you are my inspiration. Your sister is my inspiration. Being able to do what she does in her mindfulness and meditation, and being kind of that thoughtful person from that perspective. Who else?
The list goes on. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think you can't ever grow and be successful without lots of mentors.
For sure.
And each of my staff are my mentors, right? I think like I learn from them.
For sure.
New ideas.
They push you to grow too.
Yeah, I try to hire people that are smarter than me, and they inspire me each day to kind of work through some of the struggles and to be able to keep things going while I'm sitting here talking and having fun with my daughter.
Exactly.
Right? So being able to find people that you want to surround yourself with that continue to help you to grow. I've just been privileged to have that surroundings.
That's awesome. Amazing. 22 years in business, I know we've said that quite a bit, but like that means that you've had to adapt a lot over the years. And I mean, with a pandemic even, I'm sure things have changed a lot. And it's very easy to get frustrated and just say, I want to stay the way that I am, but that doesn't allow you to grow. So how have you adapted over the years?
I think every day you have to adapt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something hits you every day that you need to think, how do I change that? Maybe I needed to do that differently, that kind of thing. With the pandemic, our organization goes on site to employers to see employees, see what they do, help them with ergonomics, help them with mental health, help them with figuring out how to do their jobs differently, coaching them and their managers. So obviously when we locked down, all of a sudden we went, oh, okay, we need to think about this differently. And we'd always kind of been thinking about how can we do this more efficiently, all of those kinds of things, but something like a pandemic had kind of makes you pivot.
Yes.
And so within a very short period of time, we had tools brought in place because of my team. My team just really worked hard together to say, how do we do this differently? And we now can do most of what we do virtually. We can have platforms, the technology, we have systems in place. We've trained therapists across Canada and into the US about how to be virtual and provide the same service. And so like that pivot point, we'd always kind of questioned, could we do more of this without all the travel? But nothing really pushed us to do that, and our employers and employees were happy with the way we were doing it. So thankfully the pandemic came. Sorry,
are you saying that you caused this? No.
So yeah, that helped me to be able to at least, help our staff to say, we can do this differently.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get stuck in doing the same thing because it works.
Yeah.
But you have to be challenged by things. And
sure.
I think one of the things is innovation is so important, right? You have to stay above the last thing you did, you have to do it better, you have to innovate it, you have to try and think about how to do it differently, to be able to look at the world is changing, right?
Definitely.
So,
not just now, but all the time. Everything changes. And I love what you said about just every day you need to adapt and change and push yourself to do more. That's awesome. Awesome. What's one piece of advice or something that stuck with you over the years that you can share with our listeners that helped you in any facet of your business?
I've had so much great advice. I haven't always listened to it. I think that's one of the things I've learned about myself is, someone will give me advice and I think, I can do that better. And, so I've got lots of advice from a lot of great people that I maybe had to go back and percolate on over time. So one piece of advice, I think in running a business with employees and subcontractors and all kinds of things that you're doing, there's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be people that aren't in the right spot. But I think the piece of advice that I keep coming back to is I have to take full responsibility every single day for any decision made in the organization. Because I've hired those people, I've trained those people, I've given them the systems and the processes. So if I don't take responsibility for it, who is going to? And that really helps employees when something goes wrong to be able to hear that I'm vulnerable, I'm trying to be authentic, right, in that process, but I'm responsible. So have I put a system or a process in place that isn't working? Because if that's the case, then, it's my fault, right? It's not the employee. I haven't found any employee that comes to work and says, how can I screw up today? None. Yeah. and sometimes when business owners look to their employees and say, how could you ever do that? But if I take full responsibility for any decision made within the organization, then that allows people to make mistakes, to learn, to fail forward,
because they have to make mistakes too.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna, and knowing that, that's awesome.
And so I can freak out, but blaming doesn't help anything. Instead, take responsibility, be authentic, and just be yourself. And the more yourself you are, the more employees feel comfortable to just do what they need to do to get what they need from their workplace.
That's awesome. So my next question was, what was the biggest thing that you've learned while running a business in leadership roles? Would that be kind of one of them, or do you have another lesson to share in all your years of business?
I think that we're all human, right? And I think also, not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Right? You've got to have some people that want to be able to just come to work, do what they need to do, and not have to worry about that. So the growth of the business requires many different people with many different skills and abilities. And it's okay that people don't need to all be the salesperson. People don't all need to be the entrepreneur. People don't all need to be a certain way. That it takes a lot of different skills and abilities to run a business, and appreciate each person for who they are and what they need, and they'll support you. And I've been really blessed to, especially through the pandemic, we've had some tough times, right? Every company has. To have a team that is so supportive and amazing, and really seeing the leaders step forward in tough times and allowing them to try their skills is also important. So I don't know if I said one thing. I think I said about 20.
Yeah.
So
well, you learn a lot while running a business, and to be in business that long, I'm sure you have great nuggets, and I'm blessed to be able to hear from you every day, but I'm really thankful for you coming on my podcast on the first episode ever to really share, where I came from and how I am so inspired every day to be an entrepreneur, and definitely have that running through my blood. And not that I love to read, but I love Audible. Is there any book or podcast or any kind of, let's say book, like that has changed your kind of outlook on business or really helped you propel your business forward? Is Is there anything that sticks out in your mind for that?
Yeah, so I was listening to Audible on the way here. It's interesting now, kind of working more virtually and from home. I don't have as much downtime, net time, right?
For sure.
To be able to listen. But I think one thing, just one book that comes to mind kind of in the past few year or so is called Traction by Gina Whitman. And it really talks about kind of the different parts of the business, how to structure things. I'm a seat in my pants kind of unicorn in terms of an entrepreneur. And so Traction has given me kind of tools to be able to have systems and processes in place that don't overwhelm the staff, but also give them the structure that they need to be able to grow and build and develop. And so I think Traction or Be a Better Boss by Gina Whitman is similar, right? So both of those are ones that I keep going back to, and we've kind of structured a lot of our systems now to kind of follow that approach.
That's awesome. Awesome. Again, I want to thank you for coming on, taking the time out of your busy day, and just spending some more time with me. I know that I'm going to get lots more nuggets, but thanks for sharing with my audience and being on my first episode ever.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been a blessing to be here, and just remember that, we are all blessed with being a part of this and a part of Lindsay's team. I'm kind of learning all this from Justin and how he leads. You've got a great team in your world as well. So keep growing.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you.